Hi, this is Brandon from Watches on You. Today we're taking a look at the Rolex Sea Dweller Deepsea D-Blue, or the James Cameron edition as it's commonly known. First, I'd like to remind you that we're here at JB Hudson Jewelers in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where they have lent us this watch for the purposes of this review. So now let's jump right into this piece. So as I said, this is the Rolex Sea Dweller Deepsea D-Blue, and it is probably Rolex's most hardcore diver in that it's capable of diving to a depth of 12,800 feet, or 3,900 meters. So this is going to dive to a depth that pretty much far surpasses anything a human would ever encounter. And it really is something that's capable of being on the outside of a submarine, and they have tested this to the bottom of the ocean. So that's a very cool feature of this piece, and that's kind of the mystique that surrounds it, and that's why this watch has a higher demand than a typical diver from another brand. Something interesting about the demand for this watch is that it's not quite as great as the Submariner, probably due to its 44 millimeter case size, which is a little bit obtrusive because you couldn't wear it really with a suit. It is huge, but some people want that as kind of their sporty watch or something like that. And when I say the demand isn't as great, it's because this watch, for example, is for sale pre-owned here at JB Hudson for $13,950, which is only about $1,000 more than the retail price. A Submariner would sell for around $2,000 greater than the retail price. So you can see the demand for the Submariner is probably a little bit more than this piece. But this watch, again, is more of a hardcore diver compared to the Submariner. And when I say it's a hardcore diver, as you saw, it has that depth rating. But in addition, it also has this helium escape valve, which arguably is one of the more misunderstood features for a watch to have, as you could actually use just the crown of the watch as a helium escape valve. It's not actually necessary for you to have that on a dive watch, even if you are a saturation diver. You just pull the crown out and it would release any helium that would be inside anyways. So that is something to take note of. The case back on this piece is actually a little bit different than the Submariner's, in that it has writing around the edge, and that kind of harkens back to the original Deep Sea. And I think that makes this watch a little bit more unique than the Submariner. So getting onto the bezel, the bezel feels pretty much the same as the Submariner. It's a unidirectional 120 click bezel. It's very smooth, and it locks perfectly into its position. So that's something that I really like about this watch and Rolex divers in general. It does have a ceramic insert, so it's fairly scratch resistant as well. Additionally, getting onto the clasp, so this watch has the standard oyster bracelet, but it has a little bit more of a beefed up clasp compared to a Submariner, and that kind of fits the whole beefed up nature of the actual watch. So this watch does have a diver's extension. Obviously, it's a dive watch. All right, so in order to actuate the diver's extension on this watch, you need to pull this tab up on the clasp, and then you will you kind of click it down, and then the diver's extension will pop out, and you can see there's two extra links there. But then additionally, if you want to just extend the watch slightly, you have to pop that tab out again, but then you can also move it to your desired position. So that makes this watch a little bit different than most divers, and a little bit more convenient to use if your wrist is changing kind of your size in the middle of the day, depending on if you're hot or cold or whatever. And then additionally, if you're wearing this watch over a dive suit. So now I'll move on to a wrist shot, and as you can see, the 44 millimeter diameter of this watch is very large. Additionally, the thickness is a little bit obtrusive, but I think that this watch, you kind of do need a large wrist for this piece. It's very similar to a Panerai in that way, so that's something that you should take note of. I have about a 6.5 inch wrist in circumference, so that's something that you could use for comparison purposes. And getting onto the movement, it's got the Rolex 3235 movement. It's a fantastic movement. It's got 70 hours of power reserve, which far exceeds my 48-hour kind of limit that I like to see. So in conclusion, if you like this video, please remember to like, subscribe, and share. And if you do subscribe, hit the notification bell so that you actually get notified of new videos that we post, which we are posting regularly. So we'd like to give a special thanks to JB Hudson for lending us this piece for this review. Thank you.